All right, hi everybody. So today we got a transmission out of a T660 Kenworth. This is a 16909, I believe, which is a 9-speed, but they're convertible to a 13-speed, and that's what this one's running as of right now. So this had some clutch brake issues, and the clutch had an adjustable clutch in it. It was pretty worn as well. There were some springs laying down at bell housing, so we pulled it out. Once we got it out, notice the input shaft is severely worn in the splines here. You can see where the clutch discs have been cutting into it, and also on the nose of it, it's tapered down where it goes into the pilot bearing pretty bad. So we got a new one here we're going to put in, and here's what it should look like. You see the splines should be straight all the way down, and the input, or the nose of it, is quite a bit bigger than what the old one is. So pretty simple to pull these out. There's a couple snap rings. We've got a bearing puller to pull the bearing out. But we're going to get started. This transmission here has a little lubrication halo. This is a little bit later. I actually have another one sitting right next to us that didn't have this. So we're going to pull this out. We don't really necessarily have to pull this out to do the input shaft. One of the other things we do on these jobs is replace this bell housing gasket, because that basically, the bell housing is essentially your front cover that seals everything in as well. So sometimes you'll get leaks on these, your transmission leak here. We're going to replace the gasket while we're doing this job as well, obviously. So we're going to pull this out. And that this pops out, should. And it's just got a couple O-rings on it. Pull that, set that off to the side. And get all that old gasket material off from underneath of it here once we get to that point. 9/16 on these. The other thing, we're going to replace this cover as well, because that's where your clutch brake goes up against, and once I get this off, you can see there's quite significant damage to that plate as well, but those are replaceable also. Now these don't actually have a seal in them, contrary to popular belief. It's actually on this new one, I can show you, there's an eccentric on here that basically it slings the oil back into inside of the transmission. That's what keeps the oil from coming out that front input shaft. So these can get worn as well. This plate can get worn, and they can leak, you know, if they get significant wear. Because if you get them to where they get really worn, where this nose of this and the pilot bearing gets worn, the nose of the shaft, they can move around and you get more wear, and they can leak. So we got a lot of debris and dirt inside that cover. So this is what I was talking about. Find a rag. So we're going to replace this cover. But as you see, something has got in between the clutch brake and this surface here. There's a bunch of pitting in that. So like I said, we're going to replace this as well. A lot of times when I do this, I take the top cover plate off. Given the condition of this one, I'm going to try to do this without taking it off. But I usually like to take them off to check all the gears and everything out, the teeth out, counter shafts, main shaft, and all that inside the transmission. But with this one, given how much corrosion there is, I don't want to open up a can of worms with breaking stuff off and all that. So we're going to try this without taking the top cover off. You got 3 snap rings on here, I believe. This first one we're going to take off is kind of a pain. I highly recommend safety glasses. I've been hit by these before in the hand and stuff, and I wouldn't want to get hit in the eye with one. So. Now these are a special snap ring plier. These are snap-ons. They're made, they got these little divots to go in those grooves. So it makes it a lot easier to do these jobs. So if you're interested, snap-on SRP5C is what you want for this type of snap ring. Because like I said, these can be, especially putting the new one back on, they can be a pain. We're not affiliated with Snap-on or promoting them or anything. Like I said, this is this one that I found off the truck that worked for this, and it seems to work pretty well. Now, we've got to pull this bearing out a little bit here and get this snap ring off of this. This one isn't as tough. That one. All right, we're gonna scrape this gasket off around here because we're gonna need as much clearance as possible to get into that groove on that bearing. All right, spray that out. So I've done these without a puller before, but they are it's not very fun. So you're best off to get a puller. I think I got this one off of Amazon. Not too expensive. I don't think it was $100. Sometimes you got to pop this out a little bit, this bearing. There's a groove in behind it where we took that snap ring out. But you got to get it out enough clearance to where these will drop into the groove and stay in there. So yeah, if you have to do that, you can use two little pry bars and get on your side and pop it out, but usually you can't get them all the way out. So we're gonna put this on first. So this on. And then our locking ring. Now I need a crescent wrench. Okay, we got a crescent wrench. And as you can see, it's pulling the bearing out and turning the whole transmission. That was slick. So I'll try to find a link for this, and we can off Amazon or wherever we got it, and put it in the description. Because, like I said, it does make life a lot easier taking these apart. And actually, it's not all the way off. Now it's off. And one of the reasons that came off so hard, I noticed it earlier, is there's some damage to that eccentric there, or spline. So something's been wearing, so it's kind of put burrs on that, and that's one of the reasons that usually they just, once they pop out of the transmission housing, they just fall right off. I've never actually had one get stuck on the shaft before like that. That's what kind of caught me off guard. So, and there's the input shaft bearing. All right, last but not least, there is a washer right here. Just gonna pop that out. And then there's another snap ring back here that can be, again, spring-loaded, dangerous. So I just kind of work these out. So this is another little snap-on set of thingies. I don't know what the exact terminology is for them, but they work really well for this. And there's that. And with that, there's our input shaft. So this even has some damage on this surface as well. There's a big groove in there. So I believe this gentleman had this clutch replaced at like 300,000, so it doesn't have a whole lot of miles in it. But this input shaft does have quite a bit of damage on it, as you can see. So if you look at the new one, there's a lot of wear. So moral of the story is, if you're doing a clutch job, always check out the input shaft. It don't take that long to take them out, put it back in. Not that big of a deal. So that's pretty much it for the removal of the input shaft. The next part will be reinstalling it.